guys get together at the start? How was Defmix formed?
It's your turn.
It's my turn, okay. I met Judy in 1983 when I joined her record pool. And I ended up working for her. First I was a member of her pool, then I ended up working for her. And then around 1987, we started Defmix. And it's something that just organically grew. We didn't intend we didn't have a plan. There wasn't nothing, you know? It was really just that as I started to mix records, I used to put it under the brand Mix for Defmix Productions, and that's how we started. And then Frankie moved. Frankie just happened to move back to New York. He was playing at the World, and Judy was basically handling. She wasn't an official manager yet, but she was acting as a manager. And then we sort of like, so we just took it from there. We didn't intend on creating anything. Like I said, it was no plan. And it's almost like we ended up being like the Gamble and Huff of house music in the 80s.
That's what you became.
It's better than that one.
You know, I mean, we started, you know, we came to the UK for the DMC Awards, for starters, and it was, you know, we did a lot of press together, you know, it's like Batman and Robin.
And how did life start out for you as a DJ before you met Frankie? What was your humble beginnings?
I was part of For the Record, and you know, there was a lot of remixes at that time. You know, everybody belonged to For the Record. There was Bruce Fars, there was Steve
And actually,
Thompson.
for the room again, what was a record pool?
A record pool was an organization.
We know.
I guess Judy could really explain better what she is. She did create the record pool, so I'll let her, because she can start that story.
It was quite something to be in a record pool.
You know what? It was, well, to be part of her record pool, which was the best record pool in the world at that time. So a record pool was really a place that DJs went to pick up their promotional material, because in the old days, DJs used to pester record companies to get promos. And so what the record pool was really like one-stop shopping, where they paid a monthly fee, and every week you went and you picked up a box of promo records, and you get anywhere between 25 to 50 records a week. So that was really what the record pool was. Judy had 125 members, and you had to be a legitimate DJ to get in the record pool. You know, you had to have a corporate seal from the club. It wasn't like just anybody can be a part of the record pool. And she had Larry Levan, she had T. Scott, she had Bruce Forrest, Steve Thompson, Shep Pettibone. All these guys were great remixers at that time. So they were like an influence at the same time. They were coming over. I did the new Rolling Stones, I did the new Madonna, I did the new Aretha Franklin, you know what I mean? So that was the influence, you know what I mean? So that's sort of like, for me, like I started editing, you know what I mean? So it wasn't even the music production, but these people were a very big influence. So a lot started from that organization. It was like going to a record store, like in the old days when you all used to go to a record store once a week and you saw your peers. That was what the record pool was.
It was Larry, of course, who nowadays wouldn't be considered a great DJ because his mixing skills were not like David's, for instance, or like Frankie's. But Larry picked the most wonderful music to play, and he would always associate it with somebody on the dance floor and like bring them to their knees. I mean, the garage was a wonderful, wonderful place. But it all started with the Loft, actually. The Loft was with David Mancuso, and he was the guy that started the first record pool. And I worked for him in managing the club. And it was all about the music, and it's still all about the music. And the garage, you know, you walk up that ramp at midnight, and you go to the coat room, and you check your jacket, and you put on your dancing shoes, and you hit the dance floor. It was like no other place in the world.
You just heard that bottom coming to the other side of that wall. Whoa, whoa,
Wow.
whoa, whoa,
Yeah.
whoa. You couldn't wait to like enter
Were
the room.
you what did it? How did it influence you?
Well, I used to go as a dancer and take LSD. I mean, I was the original Loft head, but I went to the garage because garage was Fridays and the Loft was on Saturdays. So I went there really as a dancer. I got in with a member. I was never a member because Friday was straight and Saturday was gay. So I went there as a dancer. a few times. And when I joined Judy's record pool in '83, I was 21 years old. And it was a funny story. I was with a fellow DJ, Kenny Carpenter. We were at my house, and I get a phone call from the owner of the garage, Michael Brody. And he says, "Hi, my name is," and everybody knew the name of the owner of the garage. Everybody knew Mike Brody, even if you didn't know him, but you knew he was the owner. He said, "I own a club called the Paradise Garage, and I would like for you to play in my club." And I'm like, "Yeah, right, who the fuck is this playing a joke on me?" You know what I mean? Because I never played in the club in New York. There was so many other great DJs that deserved to play there, from Bruce Forrest to Tony Humphries to there are many DJs. Not to mention, I had many, I got hated because of like, who is this guy that came out of nowhere? Anyway, and it's funny because when I went to hear Larry, you heard the mid stories, four decks, all this kind of stuff going on. And as Judy said, he wasn't the greatest mixer. So I was like, okay, maybe it's a bad night, happens. But there were some mixers that were just like, wow, what the fuck was that? That shit was incredible, So like the two things that I learned, it took me to really understand what he was about years later. You know what I mean? As I grew into music and I really came into my own and understood philosophies, and that it's really about programming the most important thing when it comes to playing. It was not the technical aspects, because you could be the most incredible technical DJ in the world, but if you can't program, doesn't mean shit.
It's all about the journey. That's what the garage was. It was
You know
all
what I mean?
about the journey.
We had a proper crew, like MFSB was for Philly International.
Which was the Philly orchestra.
We had a band. We had session players that we shared, It's how we developed A Sound.
You relocated eventually, and you kind of fell in love with Ibiza. You lived here for a while. You lived in.
No, I only came here every summer. I couldn't live here. I'd die here. This place is now can't get any work done here. No, I mean, we lived here every summer for 10 years, and everybody's like, oh, you buy a place. We never knew we were going to be here for 10 years. I mean, I've been coming here for 21 years now, and I first came over with Cream. And the first place I played at, which was privileged, which was called Coup, the monster place, And then the following year, I did Amnesia. So I didn't go to Pasha yet. Then the third place was Space Terrace. You mean where the DJ booth was actually the tiny little thing behind the bar back in the days. And the first gigs in Pasha was with Renaissance at the time, And then from there, that's when Danny came, and we ended up, doing for 9 years, So, at first, when I first started traveling, it was really unheard of to be away from home for 2 weeks. 2 weeks turned into 3 weeks. 3 weeks turned into a month. Then once we had a residency, that turned into four months easily out of the year that we lived here. You know what I mean? 2 years ago, I thought I was going to live here. I rented a flat for a year, and I was like, no, this is not happening. After 5 months, I get the fuck out of here.
As you kind of, look over everything that's, you travel all over the world. You've been there from the beginning. You're still there with that enthusiasm today. What advice would you give aspiring DJs and producers out in the audience today? What do you think maybe is missing in 2015 that
I think I don't believe Paris Hilton has passion for music.
Right.
So I mean,
that's going out on Twitter. She'll slap me for that.
So I think the most important thing is to have passion. I mean, because I always tell an aspiring DJ, I'm like, as long as you love music, nobody can take that away from you ever. You know what I mean? So don't get into it because you want to arrive somewhere, because for a guy from me and my generation, it wasn't about arriving anywhere. It was a side job. I think it's amazing to see what it's become, where it's arrived, to witness it, to still be a part of it as well, to be proud that you're one of the pioneers and one of the reasons why this is what it is today. I say, one, have passion. Two is learn how to make music, because it's really important. If you know about creating music, it will make you a better DJ, to understand melodies better, and then you can make records talk to each other even better.
That's good. And Judy, as a woman in the music business, you've kind of become, well, you are an icon to many, as being one of the first, and often quoted by people like Maria, who's I believe still David's agent in the Europe. What advice would you give women today in music to get into in terms of getting in the business? And how was it for you back in the day when you started out?
It was just me. I was all alone.
What was your nickname?
Just Judy.
Just Judy, right? No, I thought there was another one.
There was.
It's on the Resident Advisor podcast. She's being modest.
My name is Eve. I was there at the beginning, The what I would say what I've said to David, what I said to Frankie, to any DJ that comes up to me and, asks me, how do I do this? How do I become? You have to have a love and a passion for anything that you do in life. How lucky am I I bought my first 7-inch single record. They used to make them with a hole in the middle, and that was in the late 50s, 1950s. And then I started buying the Temptations and the Led Zeppelin, and I grew up listening to music all the time. So it became a natural progression for me that when David Mancuso said, I need a manager at the loft, at the club, I just said, I'll do it for nothing. And that's when I met Larry Levan, and that's where I met Frankie Knuckles, and that's where I met anybody that had anything to do with music for that generation. And so that's always been my advice. You have to love what you do. And some of the crap that's coming out now, it breaks my heart, I have to tell you, because I've turned to country music. Because I'm looking and I'm dying for lyrics. I want to hear songs. I want to hear how somebody's heart is broken but lifted because they danced on the dance floor to one of my records. That would be great, So that's the advice I still give you. Love what you do. Look how long you've been doing this.
We're hanging in there. Why do you think there weren't more female DJs from back in?
Because the guys wouldn't let them. You fellas don't let them
in the booth. Now they pack them in the booth.
Well, now you've got duets.
But truly, there wasn't a.
I think it was easier for the girls. First of all, it's a very macho industry. Whether it's a gay club or a straight club, it's still a very macho industry. And I think the girls broke a lot of the barriers by working in record companies. And they actually were some of the best promotion people were girls, because they could go up to a station and just wink at the program director and get the record on the air, and they got a job. So I just, women always have to fight a little harder in a male industry like that.